On the eve of the fourth week of fighting season, we approach the humble Magma division, knowing that each of the players in this division must fight for their own survival in these jungles, which are not kind but are very hot.
Man, this shit sucks. I'm switching to Aqua.
Welcome back, everybody, to Double Dip Draft Season 8, Week 4 of the Magma Division recap. I am your host, Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers, and joining me, as always,
Is Loaf, coach of the Bayou Belly Bolts.
And man, oh man, this division is pretty close. I mean, it's not quite rocket close, but still, obviously going into week 4, it's still anybody's game, no matter what the standings are. But week 4, we're looking at only one player currently sitting at 0-3 that stands to potentially fall out of realistic contention. Everybody else is still keeping a pretty sort of neck and neck pace.
Yeah. It's, the differential differences are not that high, especially between first and second and third and fourth are also like really close to each other. And then even with like fifth place and sixth, like they're not far off.
Yeah, they're only split up by one differential point. That is the difference right now. Presuming again the cutoff was like the end of week 3 is you get in and you get out. Currently, Bekasi, Bisharps, Metropic missing qualification just by that one diff going into this week. So it is pretty tight, and there are a lot of very important matches this week. You're going to see like Anchor and Chemith, who are both sitting at 2-1, fighting each other for another spot. There's a lot of like people on the low end maybe fighting each other. You got to make sure you're not dropping to players sort of seated below you. Like, I think now is less a week of making gains and more a week of I gotta just secure my position and not lose. Because I think winning is good, obviously, but not as good as losing is bad right now, in my opinion, for pretty much any player.
Yeah, I agree. It's at the end of the day, it is always the W. The diff does not matter. A reminder to the humble player.
Diff is not a real number.
Yeah, it's a fake number. It is enticing. It is a temptress. That is all it is.
Yeah, I mean that's the frank reality.
By the diff.
If you go 7-0 plus 7 as your diff at the end, that's 7-0, baby. You're guaranteed in. Like as long as you're winning, wins are always going to be weighted better than diff. But the frank reality is most of the people in this division are taking at least one loss, and as soon as you aren't winning every game, you are going to need to worry about your diff. And everybody in this division has taken a loss. Unlike Aqua going in, Magma is a much more kind of fair, even distribution. So let's go ahead and see how that...
Talk about Aqua in this house.
Yeah, look, we cast a wandering eye at Aqua, but...
This is week 4. Never mind. We talk about Aqua in this house. Never mind. I forgot. This is week 4. We're
Magma! We're back. We're all about the ground. Shouts to Groudon. Team Aqua, shut up. Go away. What are you even doing here?
Kyogre, frankly, just a fish.
Dude, weird shape. Funny mouth. Kind of looks stupid. I'm endearing myself to it while I'm saying that.
Yeah, hold on. I do like a smile.
Week 4. Match 1, Magma Division, we have got Cabral of the Slinging Aegislashers versus Eevee of the Puppytown Ponytas. Eevee fresh off of a very valuable win into Chemith last week, and Cabral pretty much coasting. Hasn't faced a ton of meaningful resistance quite yet, sitting near the top of the division. So this is, I would say not the most high stakes match in the context of the league, but if Eevee can maintain the performance from last week, she is going to be firmly in contention, sort of neck and neck with everybody else now.
Yeah.
From Team Preview, we're not really seeing a whole lot that's interesting, frankly, on either side. At the risk of being redundant and beating a dead horse, Eevee has a pretty samey team week to week, just because of the way that her draft is constructed. And Cabral is bringing pretty much all of the staples that you would expect. I think the only interesting stuff is like Muck and Rampardos, but otherwise, Blaziken, Orthworm, Vaporeon, Arboliva have been more or less there like every time.
say like Muck, for sure his first time appearance, at least this season. I want to say Rampardos at least showed up, but I don't know if he actually came out.
Wouldn't surprise me because Rampardos is pretty bad.
Yep.
We ran a quick test scrim before this, and just to remind the people at home, wouldn't it be nice if your sheer force Rampardos with like 165 or 85 or just some ridiculously high base attack stat?
165.
Wouldn't it be nice if you could just get up +1 with your speed and hit things with sheer force moves after trailblazing? Well, it would be nice, but you can't do that because your trailblaze is sheer force, so you can't even speed yourself up like that. So you kind of have to spend a turn rock polishing, and then you're exposing yourself to just getting owned because Rampardos is very slow and very frail and doesn't have a great typing and just frankly sucks. So that's why we haven't really seen it, despite, in theory looking at it being like, oh, that's a Terra Captain with a really high base attack. The pieces don't really come together for Rampardos.
No, they do not. Please give my boy Rockhead.
Give my boy Rockhead, and also maybe like another 30 base speed or something.
Please.
I really wish there was much more to say about Team Preview here. It's looking like, obviously Blaziken is uniquely quite strong into Mega Scizor, does fairly well into Heatran as well, so like kind of, your go-to fire counter that's supposed to be backing up Scizor is not going to be doing that well into Blaziken. And there are definitely opportunities, except for in front of something like Como, for Shed Tail to come out. So I think from Team Preview, we're seeing Cabral is probably going to be in the driver's seat for most of this.
Yeah, I agree.
To run in contrast, obviously Como, this team looks kind of Como weak. So if she can position it correctly, get off maybe a Clanger's Soul or a Belly Drum Salic Berry like we've seen before, you could see Como just go nutso into this team. But I just find the positioning is probably not going to be Eevee favored, just looking at the matchup.
Eevee's definitely going to be put on the back foot, for sure. But yeah, if Como can find like its opportunity to set up, probably on Vaporeon if I had to guess. I'm trying to think. Or maybe just Arboliva, actually.
You could do it in front of Arboliva, Vaporeon, you could do it in front of Muck. I mean, maybe Vaporeon's a little scary because it can haze, I believe. So maybe not that, but...
As long as Arboliva does not have a luring voice this time.
True, because and why wouldn't it, frankly, if you're prepped for Como?
Actually, wait, no, never mind, because I forgot Como can also have soundproof, so actually it might be
fun. True! That's interesting. I don't think we see that interaction in this game, spoiler alert, but that's a cool thing I hadn't thought about. Okay, Let's jump into it. We're going to have a watch. Arboliva lead into Whimsicott. They're both doing very, very little to each other, and that instant Terrifier makes a lot of sense.
And, the safe Heatran, very, very safe, You see a Terra, you know what's coming.
Yeah, and then you see
Earth
that
power.
Earth Power just chunking it so hard. Again, Arboliva just randomly gets so much juice.
That's the power of being a normal type.
True.
You just get stupid coverage for no reason.
You see Cabral does try to go for a grass move to sort of hit. I'm assuming Rotom on the switch, but Eevee just opts to stay in, says like, alright, kill me. Do what I dare you.
Yep.
Also, today I learned Trick is blocked by Sticky Hold the same way that Knockoff doesn't remove the item, so that's cool.
Cabral just, really enjoying bringing in niche knowledge checks that no one knows or remembers.
Yeah. Thing is, like, these knowledge checks would work on me, let alone people who are playing for their first season, so I don't know.
Yeah. He's doing something right.
He's doing something right. And speaking of doing something right, Donphan cannot meaningfully pressure Orthworm, and frankly, I think he was just going for a little damage to break Sturdy so that he could get a Shed Tail. Although, hilariously here, you see Mirror procced on Rapid Spin Speed Boost, which is not that useful.
Yeah.
Clearly meant to take a Como boost if it were to happen.
Thunderbolt doing next to nothing to Muck because of just how specially bulky it is.
Yeah. It's no Alolan Muck, but it's doing pretty well.
Oh.
Those Toxic Spikes show some very good awareness, actually, because you're going to see how important they are coming up. Slinging just going for a little cheeky protect, trying to get ahead of anything else that might come in. You know, you're still exposing yourself to like a Prankster Stun Spore or something, but at least you're kind of naturally outrunning maybe like a +1 Como or something on the Switch, so.
Yeah, and just nice, safe, you know, close combats.
What, that Dragon Tail crit and -2 defense still didn't even kill it.
Yep.
Did you see another Mirror Herb? But this is not a Clanger, as Soul said. This is Iron Defense Body Press.
Yep, and this is not, you know, a favorable matchup because, yeah, even with that +2 defense, it's still going to OHKO because that's just Rampardos.
Yep. I mean, maybe if he had the Terra Water available still, but he already used the Terra on Arboliva. I think to great effect, but this Como is actually so threatening, and it lived that close combat. It just kills right back. If this were not poisoned, if those Toxic Spikes didn't go up, I wholeheartedly believe this would have just swept Cabral's entire team.
I agree. Or at the very least been very difficult to break at this point. You know, I think Vaporeon's relatively healthy and might be able to live at least one more, but like, even then,
like,
it's just so much, yeah, it's just so much damage, like, dealt.
Yep. But as fate would have it, Cabral correctly identifies that as being a potential issue, and that Toxic Spike really bails him out of having to make some tougher decisions. And Cabral takes it with, again, another very clean, very consistent-looking 3-0.
Mm-hmm. You know, again, like, not the best diff right there, but, like, at the end of the day, a dub is a dub, and that's all you need.
Man, Dirty 30 is all you need. Like, if you get 3-0 every game, that's really, really solid, you know? Like, that's just the middle value, right? So,
Exactly.
Obviously, you know, if every game were a 4, 5, or 6-0, that would be better, but, you know, I wouldn't be complaining about a 3-0. I think really 2-0 and 1-0 are the danger zone diff numbers.
I do agree, but even then, you know, I'm looking at it like, hey, I have a W. That's the only number that I care about.
The W is gold, and the dip is gravy on your gold, which, you know, maybe, I don't know, I guess you can eat gold at some restaurants, I don't know. But the metaphor's kind of unraveling. I need you to save me. Introduce the next game.
The next team, it's got a heart of gold. We've got Snake of the Miami Milotics versus Vincent of the Heerlen Hawluchas. And I mean, looking at team preview, you know, Vincent's, you know, got the usual suspects. We got our Terra Captain Cradley. We've got the Bug Fossil, whose name I cannot remember to save my life. Armaldo, thank you.
Actually, all three of Vincent's Terra Captains are here.
Yeah. You know, we've also got Terra Captain Aggron. Tyranitar, which honestly, I'm not surprised we haven't seen too much of Tyranitar. I don't remember seeing Tyranitar too much. I know he's brought on at least one other game, but has been kind of notably absent. And then Snake, Miami Milotics, you know, very similar vein. You know, we've got Mudsdale back. I am happy to see Scrafty again. You know, ZA has kind of made me fall in love with Scrafty again. And of course, our Golden Go and Bascu Legion.
Yeah, this team looks really, I mean, again, very reliable. Part of me is a little skeptical of the Dragonite bring. Like, it sort of makes sense because maybe you can scale shot like a Mega Garchomp, or, you know, lock into Outrage and force like a Fairy Terror or something like that. But really, I mean, given that this matchup, you know, if there's one thing that Vincent's team can do is get rocks up, so multi-scale will be hard to protect, and doubly so if there is a sand stream going. Like, you can't be safety goggles and heavy-duty boots at the same time.
No, you cannot. And I mean, like, yeah, there's just not a whole lot Dragonite can really do. I do like the look of Bascu Legion into this team. Obviously, it, you know, Cradley shuts it down. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think the real star here is Mudsdale. Mudsdale can just sit on a lot of this team. Obviously, it has to worry about Cradley, but, you know, if you're running like something like a Rindo Berry, then it's a very different story.
Yeah, I think realistically, Mudsdale only struggles in the event that it gets burned by Runerigus, or if it, obviously, yeah, matches up poorly into Cradilly, which the Terra Fairy Cradilly does match up uniquely well into an Iron Defense Body Press Mudsdale, or even just a Stamina Body Press Mudsdale set, on account of resisting the Body Press and you know, pressuring with these very strong grass moves. So even if you are Rindo Berry, like, as long as you're not, you know, if the Terra is uncommitted up to that point, then Cradilly can put a stop to that. But otherwise, I mean, Mudsdale looks like $1,000,000 into this team. Seriously, I think, you know, in some scenarios, it kind of 1v6s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see if you know, he has the stamina to pull through.
Hey, all right. What are we paying you? It's not enough.
You're not paying me.
That Earthquake did a lot more damage than I thought. I mean, that's a frail guy.
Yeah. This is kind of surprising, because Basket Legion does have a lot of health.
I think
it is more on the special side.
Yeah, that's very brave switch in, by the way. I guess it is Custat Berry and sturdy, so, you know, even if you do take, like, a nasty close combat, you're still going first after, but... this is tragedy right here. See ya.
Yep. Nice clean metal burst.
Serena could have been pretty decent, I think, but I don't know. I also, question will make it rain there, because the reduced special attack into this Sandstorm makes this Focus Blast do only just over half. I don't know, you know, and again, very ambitious to stay in. Like, Snake playing very fast and loose with his Pokemon right now, and that crit knockoff is also incredibly annoying for him.
Yeah.
Because that brings this thing well in range of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, because now Cradilly gets just come out for free.
Yep.
And, I mean, not tearing, though. Mostly because we already used it on Aggron.
Yep. Well, you'll notice there, I mean, that Rocky Helmet killed Mudsdale, but it would not have done had it not been crit on the switch-in.
Yep.
And we're also seeing Armaldo does not actually have a Rock-type coverage move, or at least I assume it doesn't, because I imagine it would have hit one if it had it, but goes to Rock Polish, then loses to Extreme Speed, so, I mean, you know, not massively novel occurrence happening here, but... From here, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Like, to be honest, this is a 15-turn game. There's not a whole lot to actually say about it.
It is very fast.
They're pretty much just slapping each other back and forth very quickly. The tempo was incredibly fast. I mean, again, like, I was thinking at Team Preview, you know, we're going to see a lot of, you know, dense, sort of heavy switching gameplay, trying to, you know, maneuver around Mudsdale, but in reality, they were just kind of smacking each other with big swords until one of them fell over and died, and it just happened to be that Vincent had the bigger sword today.
Yep. I mean, hey, that's a Mega Garchomp. That is a pretty big sword.
Yeah, you got
even
two
if it is
hands
a little
on
slower.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. So, unfortunate for Snake to be playing from this far behind now, but Vincent very happy to pick up another win, because really he is overcoming this draft. I was not a believer in these sort of semi-sand draft to start, but I am eating my words. He is currently sitting at a 3-1 now, so, I mean, shoot. I guess he's onto something.
Yep.
Gotta give credit where it's due. So, I mean, well done to Vincent, but frankly, I don't know what else. This was a very standard-looking game. Not a whole lot of fancy tech, not a whole lot of exciting plays, just... It happened. Game and went.
Yep. GG's.
GG's. Handshakes all around. Well done.
Yep.
Well done. Dutch comeback. Yay. Okay, next up we have got Mechura of Eevee Inc. versus Matropic of the Bekasi Bisharps. This is a pretty important one for Mechura. If he wants any chance of advancing in this division to playoffs, he basically has to win this. He basically has to win all of his remaining matches to stand a good chance, because, you know, going into this week, the best he could possibly do is 4-3. And we are already, based on the results of the last two games we're seeing, like, there are other people with 3 wins already. So it is going to be a contested spot, possibly even at 4-3. So you definitely don't want to be fighting for that spot at 3-4, and that would be best case scenario if you don't win this. So this is pretty much do or die time for Mechura.
Yeah. And looking at the draft, you know, this is the first time that we have not seen Eevee Inc. Bring Terra Captain Glaceon, which honestly would have gone kind of hard into this team.
Yeah, I could see Freeze Ray doing pretty well. Maybe if it was like Rock or something for Volcarona, I could see that.
Yeah. Instead we do have Sylveon this time, which, also like pretty good special wall, especially for Volcarona. Doesn't really have anything to threaten Volcarona back with, from what I remember.
Well, the thing about Volcarona is that it's going to have to play very scared as long as Ditto's around, because if you Quiver Dance up to like +4 and then get stolen by Scarf Ditto, then your team is done. I mean, how well does his team do, frankly, into a...
Oh, yeah, nothing. So, not at all.
Yeah, not much to really even say about that. I mean, Metropic getting very cozy with a handful of picks. He's really loving Altaria, he's really loving the Torterra as of late. Mega Aggron Mousehold are showing up a lot. It's pretty, again, very standard. I wish there was a lot more to say at team preview. I think Ursaluna stands a good chance to do well. I think Torterra looks pretty threatening into this team. I think overall it just I don't know. I don't know if you have any more insight, but that's all I got.
Nope, that's it. I mean, I think just people have gotten comfortable with their like sort of main lineup.
Yeah,
I think that's the main thing at this point.
Starting to fall into a groove, right? I mean, it's week 4, so you're starting to, if you haven't already, now you're really kind of hopefully getting into a routine with your draft, identifying like what beats what loses to what, how do you cover those weaknesses, and I think Metropic has found what he considers to be a pretty healthy balance. So let's see how it pans out into Eevee Inc. Yep. And immediately, you see they both switch out. Neither of them are super thrilled about that opener, and Eevee forced to make the double, and gets burned for his trouble. This is, in fact, the same Altaria again. So,
yep.
Get cozy.
Go Fire Spin, Will-O-Wisp,
yep,
and Parasong. What's really funny is, first of all, this is the first time it's actually trapped.
Well, so no, it did get an actual trap last week as well, I believe. But this is, because he's had kind of a penchant for trapping things that can pivot and trapping ghost types, which can leave. So this is another instance of, no, like Steelix actually can't go anywhere.
Yeah. But either way, like the Parasong was actually not necessary at all, because it's the same amount of turns for it to die from Fire Spin and Burn.
Yep.
So you could have actually just kept, roosting, and you have to take the big damage from Mousehold. Yeah,
you just get to leave your Altaria out on the field, and you don't have to chip your Mousehold by like 50. And Blood Moon snipes the Altaria on the switch, and Eevee does not want to play with that one anymore.
No.
And then it's revealed that he's choice locked into Blood Moon. And, I mean, it's got to be Specs, honestly, because otherwise it should have outspent this, unless Ursaluna was just that slow, which is possible.
It is possible. I don't hate the choice, Blood Moon. I think it is fun, but, like, if you're going to make that play, you gotta know when to switch.
Yeah. It's just kind of complicated, because Metropic does put on a lot of pressure. This Mousehold dude, with all due respect, has done, like, nothing this whole season. Mom and Dad are going to the liquor store, and they are going to die to Stealth Rock and Rocky Helmet and Body Press and Earthquake, okay? They're not coming home.
Nope. And then that Earthquake doing so much because of the Mold Breaker, ignoring Filter. If they actually click Mold Breaker sooner, that Mega Aggron would have gone down a lot faster.
You see a Heavy Slam does a substantial amount of damage, but we do lose Ditto in the process, and Metropic knows he doesn't really have to sack for like a safe switch or anything. Here it's more or less guaranteed if you just get in Torterra, Shell Smash up, and just start going nuts. And nuts Metropic does go, making this a very safe 4-0 victory.
Yep. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say, honestly.
Yeah, again, like I feel like a bit of a fraud, going in here and just being like, "Yep, speaks for itself."
Yep.
But it really does. Like it was another fairly quick game. 20 turns in the fastest, but it's far from a slow game. Metropic was just making all the textbook switches, and I really didn't feel like Mechura did anything that wrong besides staying in with the Ursaluna. It just kind of didn't work out, It just was one of those things where, the matchup wasn't tuned up quite right, plays weren't optimal, He needed to maybe get a little riskier, make some more reads, maybe bring some more novel strategies to force some different play from Metropic, but ultimately, no. I mean, no needle moved, no boundaries got pushed. It was just like a very textbook example of Metropic taking another win.
Yeah. Alright, coming up next, we have Chemith of the Washed Up Wishiwashis versus Anchor of the DuDanishDunsparce. And this is a pretty important match going in. Anchor sitting at 2-1, and Chemith also sitting at 2-1, both in top 4 currently.
Yeah, this is one of those big matches where it's like, other matches were not necessarily write-offs, but the sort of dynamic was like higher scored player fighting lower scored player, generally speaking. But this is one where like Anchor and Chemith are both not just in contention, but are arguably fighting for one of the top spots. And while Anchor does possess it going into this week, Chemith very poised to steal it from them if they're not careful. And he is one of the very strong players in this division, so Anchor's going to have to watch their back.
Yeah. And something very worth noting here is no Mega Swampert, no Polytoad, no Rain.
Yeah, Anchor just took Rain full on off the table, and I kind of understand why. I mean, looking at Chemith's team, it's like, you're boosting Keldeo, you're making Electros, like that thing gets grass coverage is very annoying, and electric, like you'd run Thunder or something. The Anchor Delmise, is also just so bulky and annoying, and it can Terra, so like even if there is a weakness you're exploiting, it's not necessarily guaranteed. Like he might just be able to force you to 50-50 if you're Anchor into like hitting Ice Punch or maybe hitting Earthquake or something, and it's I think it makes a lot of sense to just say, I don't think I want to play a super high variance matchup where it's like I either insta-win or insta-lose, and I think it makes a lot of sense for Anchor to bring a team that looks like this.
I agree. But like even, just looking at this, like, it's funny, like you don't think about it because it is such a small Pokemon, but Rabombi is just so threatening into Anchor's team. And like, as someone who's helping Anchor scrim a lot this time around, Rabombi was a very big threat and a very big boon during scrimming. But even then, like, Keldeo, like, and Baxcalibur are just such monsters. Like, you can't sleep on any of the first 3 Pokemon. And we've seen how deceptively bulky Garbodor can be.
Yeah, that thing is very bulky, and really looking at Anchor's team, there's not a whole lot of stuff they get that actually hits Garbodor particularly hard. They're both grounded poisons with Quillfish and Garbodor in the game, and they both like to put up Toxic Spikes. Actually, you've got a third grounded poison even with Toxicroak, so Toxic Spikes aren't going to be as strong of a spammable lead from Chemith's end, but really, from Anchor's side, it's pretty much going to be resting on Kartana to put a sweep together, which is not impossible, because Kartana is Kartana. If you can get that thing in behind a Shed Tail or something, it could be pretty threatening.
I was about to say, at the end of the day, like, as long as Rabombi, which does outspeed Kartana, is gone, there's not a lot of switch-ins to anything Kartana can click.
Yeah, so honestly, I think we should just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Pretty scary lead for Chemith. Good on Anchor. Just going for the fake out early. I think it's a bit of a passive play because you probably just get more by hitting a fighting coverage move, but the spoiler is that there is no fighting coverage on this actually, so fake out was perfectly fine.
Yeah. We opted for no fighting coverage in exchange for something else that we'll see, a mystery Mascotool that we'll see later on.
No fighting. Shakira. Okay, this is going really slow. you may have noticed that I believe this Garbodor just straight up has no attacking moves. It's just Pain Split and like hazards and stuff. and it is now paralyzed again and again. And
again.
Does not get paralyzed.
Oh, no, not again.
It does get paralyzed a lot, as it did last game. So we're starting to see kind of a trend, Garbodor sort of becoming the new Cabral's Vaporeon as far as getting paralyzed and never moving again. Yep. Another fake out. It doesn't do a lot of damage into the mid-ground, but like it's pretty obvious that Garbodor's coming in anyway, so unless Anchor was willing to double out, but that's also kind of a risky double, so I don't blame them for not doing it.
Yep. And I'm going to go right into the Flying Rat, getting that nice electric immunity. Yep. And, just going into that Volt Switch freely.
They are both taking their sweet time, but there's a lot of maneuvering happening right now. A lot of chip getting dispersed, a lot of field conditions being set, removed. And this Garbodor, despite not having any attacking moves, is getting chip everywhere with these pain splits.
Yep. At this point, it is just, Garbodor just sits down. We get a knockoff, getting rid of Aegislashers' leftovers.
Yep. Big double from Kemet to get a Rabombi, and now it is Quiver Dance time.
And here we see the Shield Dust proccing, blocking out the Nuzzle.
Yep.
We do get that Toxicant, but Lumberry,
yeah. Very unfortunate on Anchor's side. Again, Shield Dust kind of just a knowledge check that Anchor, I guess, either didn't know about going into this or forgot about in the moment. And it proved very threatening, because a second Toxic would have made this thing die much sooner, and without having to maybe give up your Heliolisk.
Yeah, I respect going for like the little extra chip. Nothing really wants to take a hit from this monster.
Yep.
And then nice bullet punch. Yeah, manages to knock out the threat. And then a little unfortunate skill shot miss, and then another unfortunate skill shot miss.
So here's the thing. Kemet identifies this thing, it's already showed all 4 of its moves. It doesn't have fighting coverage, so Baxcalibur is free to set up if it can hit a scale shot, which it can. It missed 2 in a row, which is a 1% chance to happen.
Hey, yep.
Also, not even the least good luck this week, it turns out. Actually, Not Pimp had something even worse happen in the other division.
I was about to say, watch Skull Division for that one.
Yeah, but we are not in Skull Division. We are currently in the Magma Division, and this Aftermath brings Keldeo, or rather brings Kartana well into range of a Keldeo Vacuum Wave. Even with a Chople Berry, that would have pretty easily killed. And from this point, it's over. There's no way Sceptile can 1v3, and at this point, Kemet, even like optimizing for diff, it just goes into this thing and hits Shadow Claw so as not to lose the Keldeo. And that's the game. I mean, that one, I would say that's probably the highlight match of the week. I thought genuinely, it's always a pleasure watching Cam play. He's really, really good, and Anchor has shown so much promise, and I thought this match was really good, because besides that Nuzzle, Anchor was playing so thoughtfully and smartly, and was doing so much good pivoting, and I liked the building decisions made from the team. It was just, I think the matchup was tough. I think the experience gap was really, obviously in Cam's favor, and ultimately, it just did not pan out in Anchor's favor. But hey, I mean, stopping that Rabombi from being a 6-0, bringing it back down to a 3-0 is much, much nicer.
Yeah, no, Anchor played that really well. Like I said, like during our scrims, we identified how much of a problem Rabombi can just be. And Anchor found like creative solutions to help with that, and just executed really well. They adapted on the fly to stuff like Baxcalibur, Garbodor, managing to whittle it down. But it was a very hard matchup, and Kemet just has really good tools, and that little bit of extra knowledge that comes with playing Pokemon for as long as he has.
Yeah, and I mean, Kemet definitely sigh of relief after that one, because if he had lost back-to-back Eevee and Anchor, this would have become a much less easy division. So he's very glad he snuck through, and to Anchor's credit, Anchor currently sitting at a 2-2 now. Anchor's 2 losses are to Vincent and Kemet, who are the top 2 seeds out of this division. So I really, I think that you can write this one off if you're Anchor. You could just say, hey, by seed, that was going to happen. You kept it relatively close. You just got to dust yourself off and keep on going.
It's true.
And I would like to see where this settled. Sorry?
I was saying no one's a champ day one.
Oh, yeah. Nobody's a champ day one, but we know who is closest to being the champ on day 7 times 4, 28. So,
there we go.
How about I will take the top 4 and you take the bottom 4 out of the Magma division?
Let's do it.
So, bringing up the lead of the pack, we have got Cabral of the Slinging Aegislashers sitting at a 3-1 plus 10 differential. In second place, Milotics is holding a 3-1 plus 5. Actually tied, I think, in second place with Kemeth, technically, who's also at a 3-1 plus 5. But Vincent of the Heerlen Hawluchas sitting now in fourth, notably, also at a 3-1 plus 5, but having lost the head-to-head versus Milotics, is 1 slot below.
Yep. And then in fifth, we do have Anchor sitting at 2-2 with a differential of 5. We have Puppytown Ponytas with 1-3 differential of -5. Miami Milotics 1-3 as well, but with a differential of -10. And then in eighth, we have Eevee Inc. at 0-4 with a differential of -15.
And can I just say, what an aesthetic set of numbers.
Yeah.
That is all divisible by 5. That's 10, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 10, 15. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, we do love to see that.
Very, very mathematical, very, very clean. You know, Einstein would be very confused by all this, I think.
Yeah, it tickles the neurons in my brain.
It does tickle the neurons. There's some definitely interesting observations to make. In particular, Anchor's diff is really excellent compared to everybody around them because they are sitting with an extra loss compared to the next 3 players, but they all have the same 5 diff. So
yep.
Anchor picking up a win from this position is going to more or less just shoot right back up to the top.
Yeah.
Conversely, you know, we're seeing like Vincent's got some of his harder matches still ahead of him. You know, I feel fairly good about Milotics' chances at this point. Cabral looking super duper consistent, but also has some of his harder matches ahead. So it's really tough to say of the top 5 players who looks the most likely to advance. As of right now, I do not feel very confident about Snake or Eevee's chances. They're going to have to really start putting things together if they want to make a difference, but they are still technically eligible. Mekir is also technically able to make it into playoffs still. If he like got 3 back-to-back 6-0s, he would end up at 3-4 plus 3 from this position, and that could be enough based on like, you know, if some of the top end just doesn't do that well. But realistically, that's probably not going to happen, and I think at this point he's more or less kind of checked out of the season, so I don't think you have to necessarily worry too much about him being in contention for a playoff spot. So we're starting to kind of narrow our vision down to, I would say, really the top 5 are where my eyes are at.
I agree. Yeah. You know, I fully expect like these next couple of weeks for them to just kind of be trading spots. You know, literally just playing musical chairs at this point. Because you know most of the top 4 haven't gone up against each other yet.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know,
at all.
Well, so that's what's interesting, right? So, you know, the reason that Spootman's in 4th and not in 3rd or 2nd is because of that head-to-head tiebreaker. It's the first time it's actually really coming in. Because Milotics beat him, he is noticeably 1 spot below. And comparatively, you know, you're going to see, like, Kemeth hasn't played Milotics, Kemeth hasn't played Vincent yet. So that whole slate of 3-1 plus 5s, when there are more head-to-head and tiebreakers and things happening, you know, some of these people are guaranteed at least a 4th win. So I think you're going to want to keep an eye out, especially for Kemeth versus Vincent this next week, because that could more or less lock one of them in for playoffs.
Agreed. Yeah.
Conversely, I mean, again, you know, Anchor playing from slightly behind, but like we said, you know, good diff, hardest matches out of the way now, and I feel really solid. I still think effectively Anchor is sitting on par with the top 4. Obviously, they would have liked to have an extra win, but really, like I say, some of these 3-1s are guaranteed to end up at 3-2 based on how the matchups go next week. So as long as Anchor can pick up a win this next week, they're going to be right back in the running.
Yeah. It is very much still anyone's ball game.
But that is pretty much all we've got for the Ligma division. Woo! This week. Definitely consider spitting on the Aqua division. Nobody likes Aqua, yucky Kyogre. Except my friends are there sometimes, so, check it out. My friend White Loaf plays in Aqua, and you can hear Aurora and Cabral doing the coverage. If you want to hear more from me, you can check out Rocket, where I cover it with Cabral. And if you want to see me play, go ahead and check out the Skull Division recap with White Loaf and Aurora.
Yeah, you can hear us make bad jokes.
They make me laugh, so they're good jokes, in my opinion. Finger guns. All right, and that is all she wrote. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.